A 56-year-old man was rushed to the hospital following the start of a routine day at work after missing a key nutrient for breakfast. See what happened to his heart. A 56-year-old man went to work feeling in his usual state of health. However, shortly after getting to work, he began feeling very weak, tired, had difficulty walking, felt drained. Shortly after that, he had difficulty breathing, and his coworkers noticed how sick he was getting. In fact, he was deteriorating so fast that they called the emergency medical service within 3 hours of him arriving. They thought that he was literally dying before their eyes. Upon arrival to the emergency room, his blood pressure was only 60 over 25 millimeters of mercury, with normal being about 90 over 45 millimeters of mercury to about 120 over 75 millimeters of mercury. Because of that, he was started on 3 inotropic drugs. Inotropic drugs are designed to simulate the adrenaline that the body secretes when the blood pressure is low. These 3 drugs consisted of dopamine, norepinephrine, and epinephrine. Dopamine increases heart rate, and it also increases the force of contraction or the force of the heartbeat. Epinephrine and norepinephrine increases constriction of blood vessels. These effects are intended to increase blood pressure. However, despite having all 3 of these medications on maximum dose, his blood pressure only increased from 60 over 25 millimeters of mercury to 80 over 45 millimeters of mercury. An echocardiogram was done, and the heart was shown to be very large and very weak. The ejection fraction, which is the percentage of blood that the heart squeezes out with each beat, is normally 55 to 65%. However, his ejection fraction was only 10%. In summary, this person was in cardiogenic shock. Cardio meaning heart, genic meaning origin, and shock meaning severe depressed circulation. Cardiogenic shock was a severely depressed circulation originating from a poorly functioning heart. This patient's heart was malfunctioning, and he was getting worse despite our maximal efforts. While talking to the family members, I was noted by the clinical team that there were 2 significantly abnormal blood tests: elevated potassium and elevated CK enzyme. CK enzyme, or creatinine kinase, is an enzyme that's commonly found within heart muscle cells or skeletal muscle cells, and we have to determine whether it's coming from the heart or the skeletal muscle. We did further testing to determine that these enzymes in this patient were primarily coming from the skeletal muscle, and therefore we did not have to treat it emergently. However, the elevated potassium level had to be treated emergently. Therefore, the patient was given a large bolus of glucose intravenously, followed by a glucose infusion. Subsequent to that, the patient was given intravenous insulin. The purpose for this, the glucose causes the increased production of insulin by the pancreas, and in addition to the insulin that we give IV, it causes the potassium to shift inside the cells. As a result, this reduces the blood potassium level and reduces the risk of an abnormal heart rhythm. This is a safety measure that's taken in anybody in an emergency situation with a severely elevated potassium level. However, something amazing happened after treating the abnormal potassium level with the insulin and glucose. After treating the patient with insulin and glucose, we noticed the following. Within minutes, the blood pressure started to improve. This improvement was so much that we were able to decrease the inotropic drugs and eventually wean him off. The patient was transferred to the ICU, where he was eventually able to be weaned off the ventilator and allowed to breathe on his own. A follow-up echocardiogram was done and showed his ejection fraction had improved from 10% to 55%. This was all within 3 to 4 hours of him arriving in the emergency room. So what happened? After talking to the patient and taking a detailed history and review of exams, I discovered that he was missing a key nutrient from breakfast that morning. In fact, this key nutrient was not only missing from his breakfast that morning, but it was missing from all of his meals for the last 3 to 4 weeks. What was that key nutrient? The missing nutrient was carbohydrates. Because this patient was on a ketogenic diet, he was not consuming any carbohydrates. As a result, he had depleted all of his carbohydrate stores. Carbohydrates, or glucose, in muscle cells is stored in the form of a molecule called glycogen. Glycogen simply constitutes multiple glucose molecules combined. Glycogen inside the skeletal and heart muscle cell serve as an energy reservoir in much the same way your gasoline tank serves as an energy reservoir for the car. When the glycogen stores became depleted because he was utilizing it all and not replacing it with carbohydrates in his diet, the heart muscle and skeletal muscles became very dysfunctional. Now, the mystery in this case is that normally skeletal muscles, and especially heart muscles, should be able to use ketones as a secondary form of energy when glycogen stores are depleted. However, in this case, it was not done. Apparently, there must have been some underlying metabolic abnormality with the heart muscle cells themselves, such that they were not able to effectively utilize ketones. As a result, the heart muscle became very dysfunctional, resulting in a drop in the blood pressure. The drop in the blood pressure probably contributed to a reduction in skeletal muscle function because the skeletal muscle was not being perfused, and in addition to that, they were not able to utilize ketones effectively. As a result, he went into cardiogenic shock, as we discussed earlier. So the mystery could be due to an underlying heart condition or the ketogenic diet itself, which could cause an abnormal metabolic process within the heart such that it could not utilize ketones effectively. But how did the treatment of potassium have an effect on the heart and the skeletal muscle? Well, the large infusion of the glucose provided an immediate source of energy for the heart and skeletal muscles. Therefore, these organ systems were able to immediately start to function right away. That's why we saw such a rapid recovery. Getting glucose with the heart allowed the heart to beat more effectively, improving circulation. This in turn allowed the skeletal muscles to get more blood supply. Additionally, the skeletal muscles were getting glucose, allowing them an energy source, and therefore they were able to perform more effectively. The respiration improved because the diaphragm, which is a skeletal muscle, when it became dysfunctional, that led to the respiratory failure. Once the glucose infusion was provided, that skeletal muscle improved, and that allowed us to wean the patient off the ventilator, therefore enabling him to breathe on his own. The heart improved, the skeletal muscles improved, and after a continuous infusion of glucose and placing the patient on a carbohydrate-rich diet, he had fully recovered within 36 to 48 hours after his initial arrival to the emergency room. So therefore, this is a rare but potentially life-threatening cause of a ketogenic diet in someone who may have an underlying abnormal muscle metabolism condition. I explained this in detail to the patient and his family. I explained to them the benefits of a healthy plant-based diet that's carbohydrate-rich, but not with processed carbohydrates, but a diet that's rich in healthy carbohydrates, minimally processed, that are beneficial. We talked to them about beneficial ways of losing weight on a healthy plant-based diet. I shared the data that we had in our center and how you can lose weight and be on a healthy plant-based diet and have healthy consumption of healthy carbohydrates. Unfortunately, the patient was not able to follow up with us after being discharged from the hospital, so we did not get any more information after that. However, I hope that the patient was able to use this information to his benefit. I hope that was helpful to you, and as usual, if you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe, like, and share button, and of course hit the notification bell. If you are coming back to the channel, please give us a thumbs up and share it with as many friends and loved ones as you can. I hope that was helpful to you, and until the next video, take care. Thanks for watching. If you got value out of this video, please like it, subscribe, and hit the notification button to see our next show.